Good morning and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about a little known program called HOPWA, H-O-P-W-A. That is Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, okay? So if you have HIV or you have AIDS and you need housing, you need HUD housing, Section 8 or continuum of care, which is better known as coordinated entry for those of you that may be homeless or on the verge of being homeless, then this would be the program and grant you would want to identify. Now, the first thing I'm going to tell you is before we get into the actual video, let me make it very clear early on. It is highly advisable you get somebody to consult with you to help you sort through this, because there are two things that you're quickly going to learn with most programs that run through the government. One, they're always convoluted because they're written by legislators and then underwriters, and they are excellent at convoluting just about every aspect of these programs, which makes it hard for you to identify and find the programs, and then you do not know whether or not the person that's going to be administering an assessment to you in order to get the program is that knowledgeable, because a lot of them are unable to even read their own manuals, so you end up sometimes getting less than what you would probably should be getting through the program and or grant, okay? So with all that being said, you know, it is, like I said, it's highly advisable that if you don't want to take chances with where you're going to live and what you're going to receive for wraparound services, then get a consultant, okay? It is worth your time. I do offer that service. You can find the information in the comments section, or you can see the information in just about any of my videos, okay? So we're going to go ahead and move on real quick. Now, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to go ahead and use the information from Texas, okay? Now, let's come to one other understanding very quickly, is that every city and state can modify the grant, okay, to fit their city and its needs and income requirements and everything else. So right now, I'll only be able to give you a perspective, a general perspective of the program. Just understand that it can change slightly city to city and state to state. So HOPWA, the Housing Opportunity for Persons with AIDS. So one of the things is you'll learn very quickly, it operates just like HUD in Section 8. You're applying, obviously, for an HCB voucher, but HOPWA into this is the grant, which allows wraparound services, which are additional things that ordinary people that are low income or disabled wouldn't get, okay? So the tenant-based rental assistance program, better known as TBA, is a rental subsidy. So you know, the federal government's kicking in extra money to ensure that if you have HIV or if you have AIDS, that you would be able to get the housing. Now, with that, if you already have a home and you own it, then they may be able to give you short-term rental or mortgage assistance, and also utility assistance under a different program than the THEA program that most of you are used to if you get normal housing. Now, the utility assistance would be the STRMU program, and see how all this is already starting to become convoluted. And so, you know, I'm just warning you that you'll see the further we get into this, the more interesting it does get, okay? So, you know, like other programs, you have the option of finding a landlord that would be suitable for you. If you're an AIDS patient in critical care, then they could obviously make the payments towards that. And, you know, if you have a nurse or you're at the end of life stage with it, then there are other support services for that, or they can pay rent towards facility-based assistance, which is called FBHA. They also have permanent housing placement, okay? Depending on the city, they may call that permanent supportive housing, so PHP or PSH. And so I hate to confuse everybody behind that, but in other words, they're just all that equates to the reasoning is going to be that they're going to pay 100% of your rent, okay? And usually most of your utilities, and along with other additional things, okay? They also offer housing information services. It's a useless service, but, you know, it's one of those things they tend to tack on to most of these HUD and Section 8 related programs. Now, you know, one of the unique things about me and my channel is the fact that instead of giving a 3-minute video with a talking head that bobs around and a lot of tips and tricks like a rodeo clown, you know, I tend to produce both the federal, state, and county manuals, okay? So it allows you to see into the insight of exactly how their people are trained, and so I'm going to show you some of these manuals, and you'll be able to see, you know, where this would potentially go. So we're going to take a look. We have the Department of State Health Services for housing opportunities for persons with AIDS. And this is a fairly new manual. And I'm going to go ahead and scroll down. As you can see through your contents, you have the purpose and use of the manual, program rules, the definitions, administration, overview, administrative agency, confidentiality, the Fair Housing Act, violence against. So as you can see, it covers everything. So I would dare to say that I'm not giving you tips and tricks. I'm actually giving you the federal and state manuals to this program, so you would have the same understanding as any federal and state employee when you apply. Now, look, the requirements for the program is very obvious. You simply need to have a diagnosis of HIV and AIDS, and you would also need to be low income, okay? So, if you're making $100,000 a year, then they would tell you to go ahead and just leave the building. They're not going to help you. However, if you're low income and you do have HIV and AIDS, then this program would be ideally suited to you. Now, just because you have this information and you walk into a HUD office or a COC coordinated entry location doesn't mean that the people there are informed or even intelligent enough to know that this grant exists, okay? Look at the lack of information there already is on this from the internet and other places. So again, I tell you that you're really putting a lot at stake and a lot at risk if you're not going to get somebody to consult and advocate and fight for you in order to get this grant done. Okay, so one of the scenarios I see play out a lot is a lot of housing authorities hire people that simply lack education, acuity, and so you get somebody that would rather file 13U than go through all the necessary steps and manuals in order to help you get the proceeds for this grant and process you, okay? So I'm not trying to be negative, but this is a reality I've dealt with 15,000 times over 15 years. I've read over 1 million pages of policies and procedures and everything across the internet for every type of Section 8 and HUD housing and COC program out there. So the reality is there is nobody that knows more about these programs than perhaps even the director of HUD himself, okay? So with all that being said, if you do have a diagnosis of HIV, if you have a diagnosis of AIDS, or if you're being terminally treated for this, or you're a patient, you own your own home, you have an apartment, you need help, there are wraparound services for that, and I'd be happy to discuss that with any of you in the comments section. If you feel the need or you feel that you have inadequate representation to get this grant through your worker, through HUD or wherever it may be, or your social worker, but ask you to go ahead and reach out to me, okay? Because even, don't be shy about that. You know how many times I've had social workers and professionals contact me? You know how many lawyers and attorneys contact me? Now, these are people that know the law that hire me all the time to help distinguish the program rules for all of these things to save time. So if you want to be able to get HOPWA, I think your best opportunity would be to work with me. And if you don't want to do that, I can help provide the manuals at the very least for you, and then you're welcome to read through, the 1,000 or more pages of that and see how you might qualify for that. You understand that in 2021, things have become pretty complicated with the pandemic. And so, with that and other issues that are going on right now, it makes it even harder and a bigger strain with the lack of housing and lack of funding. So I think that, there isn't a long list for this, but you really need to have all the right answers for this, and you need to be able to know what's available to you. That way, you're not just simply getting a part of the grant rather than the whole grant, okay? So look, I've enjoyed talking with y'all this morning. I apologize if it wasn't as in-depth as you'd like, but the reality is it would take approximately a 20-hour video to cover the topic in its entirety, and then probably several thousand hours for me to cover all 5,000 or more cities in the U.S. that have different programs for this particular grant, okay? So with that being said, I hope you enjoy your day, and come back and see us again. Bye-bye.